Sir, we are live.
Yeah. Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Dekho Apna Desh. We are moving forward and coming to new episodes every week, and we are getting more and more response from the viewers, and we are getting very expert persons to explain unexplored areas and less visited places of India. So our endeavor is getting more and more attention, and we are reaching a new milestone every week. So today we have expert in northeastern area, and we had a few episode of northeast, but still we have a lot more to know about northeast. This is called unexplored paradise of India, because northeastern part is less visited by the people, and now the connectivity and other things have improved. Even now you can find train going up to Arunachal. So today we are discussing about Arunachal, and we have the expert Mr. Hari, who has done previous episodes also. So without uh, wasting our time, we will move to Hari to let him know, mm, and let him explain to us about the treasures hidden in, you can say, Arunachal. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Suman. Good morning, participants. Today, so far, the last two episodes, we have seen Northeast India. That is, we began our journey from Assam, then we went on to Nagaland, and today, in our final episode, I'll be showing you Arunachal Pradesh. Arunachal Pradesh is known as Gateway to Serenity. So, see, Arunachal Pradesh, if you notice, is the northeastmost state in India, bordered with Bhutan, Tibet Autonomous Region, then Myanmar. And this particular region was once, there are various kingdoms which ruled this. On the borders between Tibet and Bhutan was the Monpa Kingdom. Then on the northernmost Loth region, it was the Chutia Kingdom from the 9th century to the early 16th century. So, and during the British period, today's Arunachal Pradesh was known as Northeast Frontier Region or Northeast Frontier Agency, NEFA. And here you see is a map of the former Arunachal Pradesh under the British administration known as NEFA. And today, the present Arunachal Pradesh is a composite district, which was, sorry, a state included into the Indian Union in 1987. It was a union territory from 1972. And Arunachal Pradesh was one of the states which took a major conflict during the Indo-Sino War in 1962. So Arunachal Pradesh is a land of known for its people. There are about 26 major tribal groups and about 100 sub-tribal groups among them. And we'll be traveling from the southern end of Arunachal Pradesh all the way to the border regions in north. And also Arunachal Pradesh gets its name because India gets its two places in India you can see the first sunrise. First is Kanchal Island in Andaman Nicobar group of islands, and the second place is Dong. Dong is an extreme uh, northeast village with India. Over here you could see Dong, and here the sunrise happens at around 4:15. And one of the primary rivers in Arunachal Pradesh is the Lohit. Lohit River, it is the name of Lohit is known as Sangpo, and there are around, as I told you, 26 Adivasi groups who are spread out across Arunachal Pradesh. Here is more of an illustrative map. Each community has got their own set of cottage industry and art forms, both performing art forms and also materialistic art forms. Like some of them are known for their textile, some of them for their hat, some of them for their jewelry, and so on. See, as I told you, the Brahmaputra in Assam, before it begins its journey to the plains, it is known as Lohit River in Arunachal Pradesh. And in Tibet, it is the Yarling Sangpo. Yarling Sangpo River is the largest river in Tibet and the fifth largest in China. And it is the world's high altitude, the only high altitude river. Now, there's an interesting story with this river because this river was mapped sometime during the First World War time by two British officers, but there was one gentleman who had put here is the origin of Sangpo River from Lake Mansarovar near Mount Kailash. Here you could see this. It passes through south of Lhasa, that is the capital of Tibet Autonomous Region. It enters India through Arunachal Pradesh and it is known as Lohit. Aloth is also the name of the district. And at one point, in a point called as Parasuram Kund, it makes a sharp turn towards the plains, and from then on, it is the Brahmaputra. And this particular river section has got also the world's longest canyon, longer than the Grand Canyon, which is about 505 kilometers long, with and the deepest of the canyons on the face of Earth. This particular river was first explored all the way from Tibet to present day Lohit region in Arunachal Pradesh by this gentleman, Kintop. Kintop was a lepcha from Sikkim who worked under the British. He wore many disguises, like he first disguised himself as a Chinese Lama who became a slave, and he also found out an indigenous method of marking 500 wooden logs and send them down shore. Unfortunately, he was arrested by the Tibetan authorities and he spent his time in his prison. And despite that, he was also documenting the route. And finally, two English men, that is Frederick Bailey, one of the person, he was a political agent. Basically, a political agent in those days was a spy. Himself and an adventurer who belonged to the Survey of India, that is Henry Morshed, began something called as the Yarling Sangpo expedition. This happened in the early 1900s, where they mapped the whole of Sangpo River, followed by Lohit and Arunachal and Brahmaputra, all the way up to its joining with present day Bangladesh. This is the map they created. So, this particular landscape is the landscape of Arunachal. The first point of entry in Arunachal would be Itanagar. Itanagar is the administrative capital of Arunachal Pradesh state. And recently there has been a new Shatabdi Express from Guwahati station to the Itanagar station. So you can access Itanagar through train. There is no airport. The nearest airport is Tezpur. Having Itanagar as base, you can explore Ita Fort. Ita Fort is a fort which belongs to the 13th, 14th century, again, which was built by the Chutia dynasty. Now, here you could see this fort is presently in ruins. Only you can see the gateways and one stone slab with sculpture on them. Followed by you could visit the Tibetan Gompa. This is a Gompa which was established in the 80s. And this Gompa is known for its beautiful Tanka paintings on its ceiling and on its walls. Followed by this, please do visit the State Museum of Itanagar. The Jawaharlal Nehru Museum is one of its kind in Northeast. This particular museum showcases the cultural heritage of the people of various tribal groups of Arunachal Pradesh. Like they have these kind of wax models where you could see each community at their traditional context. And also, this particular museum has got archaeological collection from Nitan archaeological site, and then the Dirang Valley civilization site, and some collection like the smoking pipe from one of the tribal groups, followed by various types of dove. Tav is one of the knife, or you could call it as a machete. In many cases, these machetes will come with a scabbard, which will be a wooden one, and this is hung around the neck of each tribe. Here you could see various types of machetes belonging to the 26 plus tribal groups, main tribal groups in Arunachal Pradesh. And this particular museum, Itanagar Museum, has got some finest collection of Tanka paintings done by the Monpa tribal group from the Tawang region. The Tawang region is home to Tibetan Buddhism, where we'll be visiting in a while. Another place of interest would be to visit the Itanagar Market. The market has got from modern vegetables to the traditional tribal food, like you could see bamboo shoot. Then you can get the smoked fish, river fish. Smoked fish is the freshwater fish is caught. It is kept between two bamboo sticks and it is hung on top of the fireplace so that it gets smoked and it preserves its nutrients. Then you can find these rice beer cakes. Both two types of rice beer cakes you get. One is a cakes with mix of herbs, another is without mix of herbs. And the local produce. The staple crop which is cultivated, you can't call it a staple, but rice is the most cultivated crop in Arunachal Pradesh, followed by wild corn and millets. And also with this wild corn, rice, and millets, they make the rice beer. And also a lot of greens you can find, local greens. And this is a kind of local beans which has been boiled and wrapped in leaves. And you in this market you can also see these peculiar shaped brinjals. These type of brinjals you don't find them much in the plains. And a wild tomato, a variety of wild tomato which you find it in the northeast hills, namely you get it in Nagaland, you get it in Arunachal, and also unique food like these forest beetles. These beetles are used for consumption. What people do is they buy this, they smoke it up, take the shell out, and they take only the meat inside. And here is a bamboo shoot. The bamboo shoot is a very important diet for the all, literally all tribal groups across northeast of India. And this is either mixed with rice or it's mixed with greens and meat. And in the shops, it will be made into it will be chopped up and filled into these large cool drink bottles like this one, or these plastic containers. And here you get, they also have these flasks to store these traditional flasks made out of a variety of gourd plant, which is left to dry on the twine of the plant. And this is also common in down south in Tamil Nadu. People used to use it as a water storage. One, again, you can also in the market see a women's cooperative doing, they are making various types of tribal jewelries. For each particular tribe, they have got their own pattern with colors. Earlier, it was equivalent to gold or diamond for the tribal population in the region because it used to be passed from mother to daughter. These tribal groups were um, trading, they were doing this barter trade between Tibet and Burma. Unfortunately, after the drawing of the McMahon line across Arunachal Pradesh, now and Tibet being cut off to the rest of the world, now this particular trade between the Arunachal tribes and Tibet has been totally severed. But so for that reason, they procure these beads from the plains, namely Guwahati, and they make it over here. Nearby Itanagar, there are some places of interest, especially wildlife places. The first place we'll see is the Itanagar Wildlife Sanctuary. This sanctuary is home to the slender loris, which is more of a nocturnal animal, and the marbled cat. This is not the domestic house cat you see, this is a wild cat, which is known as a marble cat. And now let us take a drive from Itanagar towards the west. We'll drive towards Tawang Monastery. En route to Tawang, there is a place called Tembang. Tembang is a heritage village. It is one of the three tentative sites in the tentative list for UNESCO World Heritage Site. Now, this is the Tembang village. This is one of the fortified villages which came under the Monpa people. There are various legends behind this particular fort, and this fort from the first century of the Common Era onwards has been very important fort for various dynasties which ruled this region. And even recently, during the Indo-Sino War, the Indian Army had dug bunkers inside the fort. Inside the fort, you could see some of the bunkers still visible. And this fort, the local population have stopped inhabiting this fort because there have been few cases of fire accidents in the recent past, sometime in the 70s and the 80s. So they have all shifted their residential areas outside the fort. And as we dive through, we will be coming to the Sila Pass. Sila Pass is located at an altitude at a height of about 4,000 plus meters above mid sea level. This is the entry point for you to go into Tawang Valley. And from here, the roads become narrower, and you find these beautiful hairpin bends, windy roads, which is literally about a single lane. It's very important traffic for both the Indian Army, for essential goods supply, and the tourist route. So this will be the way you'll be traveling through the Sela Pass all the way to Tawang Valley towards the lower reaches of Sela Pass, and we enter through Tawang Valley. Tawang Valley is known for its famous Tawang Monastery and the Monpa people. The Monpa people over here are a tribal group based in Arunachal. They are also spread in Bhutan and in portions of Tibet Autonomous Region. And the Monpa men are known as expert pastoralists and hunters. And this is one group, the only group of people apart from the Membas further up north in Arunachal who build their houses using uh, stones and brick. And the Monpas are known for their Buddhist Lama dances, which they perform yearly, especially during the Torgaya festival, which happens between in the first 2 weeks, sometime in the first 2 weeks of January. And now we come to Tawang. Tawang is the birthplace of the sixth Dalai Lama, and this is a house in which he was born. And the monastery, the Tawang Monastery, is one of its kind in India, in northeast of India, literally. This monastery is surrounded with residential complex. It's built like a fort, and it was the monastery dates up to the early 1600s, and various phases up to the middle of 1700s it was developed. And this monastery is known for its rare manuscript collection in the library. As you enter the monastery, you could see these large mandala paintings greeting you through the doorway. And here is one of the old manuscripts on display in the museum. And the image of Sakyamuni, that is Lord Buddha. And also the Tanka paintings on the walls and the ceiling of the monastery is equally beautiful. Another site of attraction in Tawang is a war memorial. An interesting war memorial, unlike the conventional war memorials where you have the slabs denoting names of slayed, martyred soldiers. Here in this monastery is built like a uh, gompa, a stupa. Gompa is the term used in Tibetan Buddhism. And this monastery is meant in remembrance for the warriors who lost their life during the Indo-Sino War in 62. Near this region, as we go to near Tawang region or south of Tawang, is a wildlife sanctuary known as Eagle Nest Wildlife Sanctuary. It's a small sanctuary spread around about 100 square kilometers, which is thickly canopied. And this particular forest gets its name because of the Red Eagle Battalion, which has been stationed over there. And this is a birder's paradise. There are around 200 plus native species of birds. Here is a tragopan and interesting types of flowers which you find only in this region. For example, this is a puffball flower and home to the red panda. The red panda is spread towards in China, portions of north of Southeast Asia, and in Arunachal. Arunachal is the only state in Northeast India where you could see this red pandas. And also nearby is the Cesa Orchid Sanctuary. At this altitude, around 3,500 plus meter altitude, this is one of its kind orchid sanctuary with about more than about 300 species of orchids, which are endemic in nature, which is from Arunachal Pradesh. Followed by another attraction is the Pake Tiger Reserve, one of the initiatives done during Project Tiger of 1980s. And finally, we will now drive west from Itanagar. We'll be going to a region known as the Apathani Valley. Apathani is a group of tribal people from Arunachal Pradesh, and this is a valley region. And the Apathani people are known for a type of agriculture known as pisciculture, which is both paddy and fish culture. And presently, zero region in Apathani Valley is nominated is on the tentative list of World Heritage Sites. And here is a view of old Zero town with the World War II airstrip in the center, and on the other side of the town is the paddy fields. And this is before the sowing season. Sometime in the monsoons, they will have their paddy fields ready. And these paddy fields also they use two crops of rice cultivation. And in the two crops, in one crop, they do it along with fish rearing. That's why the type of agriculture in zero region, that is Apathani Valley, is known as the pisciculture, where between August to September, sorry, April to September, they will rear fish and also cultivate the paddy. And during the harvest, in the say now between November to February, they will after harvest only cultivate fish because fish cultivation also adds nutrients to the soil. Now here is where you see these kind of water channels, the paddy field channels will be dug out, and it is the place where the fish take refuge, and they also breed in this. And the fish are checked from when water is leaving that particular field and going to the lower field by a series of bamboo traps so that fish don't pass on from one field to another. Now, this type of agriculture is unique to only this region in India. No other region you see this. Now, this is after harvest, about 2 weeks before there will be, this is a image about 2 weeks before flooding the fields for the second phase of cultivation of fish but not paddy. And the Apatani homes are smaller homes compared to other tribal groups which you see in northeast of India. And this region, if you notice, is a place where people practice community forestry and also community farming. Here, no part of land belongs to an individual. It belongs to a village, and there has been these traditional um, how do you call it land sharing done among the people. And the Apatanis are known for tattooing among men and women, especially among women. If you notice, especially the older generation of women, they have a tattoo which will run from their forehead to their nose, and about 3 to 5 lines below their lower chin, and they will have these huge bamboo plugs. Now, this was something which was a tradition among the Apatanis, which was stopped in 1970s when there was a major cultural revival happening across Northeast India. And in Apatani Valley, the students who belong to the Apatani community decided to ban this particular tradition of tattooing among younger women because it was a time when young girls were moving out of Arunachal, going to the plains like Assam, further to Bengal, and sometimes to Delhi and all the way to south to do their studies. At that time, they were being teased. So, for that reason, this particular tradition is stopped. Only among the elder women you could see them with the tattoo and the piercing. And also with men, like this man you see, he's one of the village heads. These village heads are easily identifiable with their red coats. And the Apathani men will have long hair with a top knot in front of their head, and they will have a tattoo just below their cheek. Here is a typical Apathani man who's in the sacred grove. Here, the Apathanis are again, most of the tribal population in Arunachal Pradesh are animists and shamans. Shamanism is a belief system, and their primary deities are their spiritual world revolves between Doni and Polo. Doni Polo is a belief system which was more, you could call it as a revived belief system of Arunachal, which is the sun and the moon worship. And among that, among the Apathanis, they also have various spirits in between. So when somebody is sick, they do perform rituals, like this one, where they sacrificed a dog, a chicken, and a couple of eggs, and they perform this ritual in the sacred grove. And they also make a type of eggs they cook it by filling them in bamboo pole, lighting them up on a fire, and then opening it up. Here is cooked eggs, you get it in this particular place. Like how in a Hindu temple you go, they will share sweet meat as prasad. Here, this particular, the meat of the dog or the bird which has been sacrificed is shared, and followed by which this particular egg, which has been poured into the bamboo and cooked, because the shells are used for making these kind of ritual garlands. And this person who's performing the ritual is the main priest among the Apathani. Now, one of the last stages of the ritual they perform is he will be throwing seeds around the sacred grove. Here is the sacred grove, the priest with the assistant, just at the end of the dog sacrifice. This sacrifice, coincidentally, it was done for a person who had severe sickness, and this sacrifice, the person wanted to do it before they go into the main hospital in Itanagar, the government hospital in Itanagar. And I was telling you about social forestry among the Apathani people. Every village you can see a notice like this, warning to visitors of a fine if they cut even a piece of bamboo or cane, or even if they litter, or if they do pay, if they want to have a picnic. So you have to take permission from the village members and do it. And here they have the local variety of bamboo. Bamboo is a very important part for every tribal family in Assam region, because it is with the bamboo they make their homes, their equipment which they use to store rice for hunting, everything. And there are two important festivals among the Apathani. That is the Dire festival, which happens in the month of June, for which is a festival done before the rice planting, or rather, sorry, it's before the harvest, praying for a bountiful harvest, and the Mayako festival, which happens as more of a inter-village friendship festival. It happens in the month of March and April. During these festivals, the Mithun, a semi-domesticated Indian goat you find across Northeast, is sacrificed, and various parts of its body is shared among the clan members of the particular head who is doing it. And the person whose Mithun has been hunted and bought, he will have the head and the heart of the animal. And during this time, we also will see when parents invite their children back to their village and they'll be given a feast. This happens when, for instance, during the wedding about 20, 30 years back, the parents of the bride and the groom were not able to give a feast to the village members and the clan members. They can conduct it even after about 30 years. So this is when they do it, and that time they exchange gifts. Here is one of the field rats which has been smoked. Here is a couple for whom they had done this ritual. At that time, the elders among the Apathanis, they will inspect each of the gift which has been shared, like they inspect the wild rats, and then the spoons. This is a variety of spoon which they make it from a particular gourd, which is dried on the vine, and they use it for filling up rice beer. And the feast happens not like how we have it in the cities and all that. You have a shamiana, you hire out chairs and tables. No, they sit around the fireplace. The fireplace is a central part of any home among every given tribal society in Arunachal Pradesh. Keeps the home warm. The soot from the fireplace, years of soot of the fireplace, disinfects it from insects and so on. And during that time, they will also value gifts like here they are valuing a large piece of pig meat which has been smoked. And the Hapoli market in Itanagar is also unique because here not just you will get these cane baskets made by the Apathani people, but also you will find varieties of local corns like this red one, and you can also find silkworms. Silkworm, interestingly, is not cultivated, is not grown over here to produce silk, but as a delicacy. This is consumed as a delicacy over here. Another unique thing you will find in the Hapoli market is something called as a tapio. You see this one, the big discs, which the dark discs, it is known as tapio. It is one of the salt. It is a salt which is produced from this particular variety of grass known as Gonde Uyu. Gonde Uyu is a variety of local grass available in this region, out of which they produce a variety of salt. This is an alkaline salt. At one point of time, this was used as currency. The value of this, when they used to exchange goods in barter system with the Tibetan people, was equivalent to gold. And there are only a few people who know this process, and they are also right now. This is a tradition which is slowly disappearing because the elders, the youngsters have been migrating to towns outside Arunachal for jobs. So the elders they are not passing it on to, or rather, they don't have anybody to pass it on. Like one of them is this lady who's an expert, and she has got a premium for the salt she produces, or rather the middlemen take a premium. What they do is they build up a fire with base of wooden logs on the base so that the residue is collected, and she heaps the whole fireplace. It completely burns down into ashes like this, and she will sprinkle it with water, collect it, and put it up in this conical cylinder, and they will filter it. Before they cook it up, what they do, she is, takes a big piece of pork fat, applies it on the vessel or the pan where it's going to be processed. And the water which has been diluted and filtered is poured into it. And slowly they take that particular pig fat out. And it finally becomes uh, dark after this, like this it becomes when it's cooled down, and later on it is packed in shreds of bamboo fiber and placed on top of the fireplace, and it's smoked for a long period of time. And according to this lady, she said that smoking it for more than a year is one of the best salts you can produce. This is how it will look in the market. And this salt is used as a regular salt. This is where you can use it with while you eat the bamboo shoot. Another attraction in Zero Valley is a group of Swambhulinga over here, which was a recent discovery during. It was discovered after the 1950s major earthquake in northeast India, and this is a group of Swambhulinga with which signifies more like Shiva, Parvati, Lord Ganesh, and his other son Kartikeya. Near to Zero Apathani Valley is Tali Valley Wildlife Sanctuary. And these wildlife sanctuaries, please remember, you have to make treks to access to this sanctuary after a particular point of you reaching on the periphery of the sanctuary. One of the attractions of this sanctuary is the giant squirrel and the clouded leopard. The clouded leopard is one of the most elusive species you find in the Himalayan region, eastern Himalayas especially. Now, let us have a view about the people of Arunachal. As I mentioned, there are 26 major tribal groups and about 100 plus sub tribes. And now we will take a journey towards the interior of Assam. Many of the places are well connected by roads because of the strategic location of the state with our friendly neighbor. And here you could see various types of houses, residential homes among various communities and in the region. Most of the homes, except the Buddhist communities like the Monpas in Tawang region and the Membas in the West Siang region, most of the houses are built on bamboo and cane. And houses are built not by contracting laborers like how you do it in the plains, but by family and the clan members and the village members, where the host whose house is being built will be keeping a major feast for the people who helped him out. So it is more of a community process. And each house lasts for more than 40, 50 years. They keep only changing the roof. Here we'll first see the Miri, the Hilmiri people. The Hilmiri people inhabit the central region of Assam, of Arunachal Pradesh, and they were famous for having the peak of the hornbill, the great Indian hornbill. But now they have been aware about the conservation measures, and they use only fiberglass hornbill beaks in their hat. Now this is one of the older hat with the hornbill beak, and this is an equipment which every Hilmiri man will carry, a hat which he has made himself using cane, and then a small backpack, again completely made with cane, and the dove. And every residential area, there will be a separate granary like this one. The granary will be built about two levels on top, and the topmost level will have flat stones like this. Why flat stones? Flat stones is to protect it from rodents who are trying to climb into it. And since this particular Arunachal Pradesh faces either extreme rains or extreme winters, so most of the tribal houses you see will be built on stilts, either like this crisscross stilts which are used by the um, Hilmiri tribal group and the Gallo tribal groups. And this is a large house of one of the village elders. And every portion of the home will be bamboo or cane. Very little of metal is used, and the main portion of the house in the center is the central fireplace, which is also the kitchen. And this is the top levels where they either dry grains and also meat. The smoked meat is processed over here, and around the house it is divided into small portions for their children, and each person will get a portion. One of the modern inclusions is the mosquito nets. And here on the right you can see the dove. Dove is a machete with a scabbard, which is worn by every man you could see of every tribal group in Arunachal Pradesh. They will be even from young boys when they go out for their during the agriculture activities, and also they don't know when they might need it to cut a piece of cane or a bamboo. They use this. The granary inside the home and the rice husking place. This is a typical Galo village where you got a small water catchment which is for the freshwater purposes. And this is one of the memorials which is erected for the deceased on top of their burial. One of the sacred spaces among the Miri and the Galo people. And in this society, in the tribal population of Arunachal Pradesh, they have immense respect for people who are mentally challenged. They are considered as gods. Now, this is in the lower regions of the Adi Valley near Pasigat. And this is a typical temple for Doni Palo. This is one of the oldest temples built in 1972 when there was a revival of Doni Palo tradition by this man known, his name is Talum Rukbo. Talum Rukbo was one of the pioneers in reviving the Doni Polo movement, which was a challenge, which was more of an organized religion he tried to envisage to counter the spread of missionary activities in Arunachal Pradesh. And even today, this is one of the main practices among various tribal groups, except the Buddhist groups in Tawang region and the Memba region. And here is a typical altar you can see inside the temple. The sun and the moon, and they got their rice goddess Kinainane. And Doing Bote is one of their ancestors who taught them to hunt and warfare. Here are their creators, the first couple, the progenitors, then the goddess Doni Loma, who is the goddess of fire, and so on. And one of the sacred objects, they see fortunes by observing one of the eggs which have recently been laid. Eggs with these kind of veins, which is spreading out, is considered auspicious, and that is placed in the altar. Now, this egg which I saw was about 2 years old, and this is another temple which you could see in the Apathani Valley. And the flag which is representing Donipalo is a white flag with the sun symbol on it. And one of the newer prayer halls in Itanagar. And as you drive through Arunachal Pradesh, you would see some fascinating bridges, like this bridge, which was built by the Border Road Task Force, that is the 3rd Battalion of the Border Road Task Force, and this is in the Pangan region. These are both metal and these are suspended bridges with metal, and the base is wood. And some of the high altitude villages are occupied by the Minyong Adi tribe. As you go towards lower Subin Siang district, here is a village called Riga village. And each village, they will be having their granary like this one outside the residential area to safeguard it from inevitable any emergencies like fire. And here they practice a type of agriculture known as Joom. Joom cultivation is a shifting agriculture. Like here you see this land above the village. Now here is the land they cultivated. Now this particular village they spread towards the top and the back portion of this hill. They will come back to the same portion about 10 to 15 years later. And this is one of the sacrificing altars of the Minyong Adis, where about a couple of days back they had sacrificed a Mithun. And this region again, you could see these long walking bridges. There are three types of bridges. That is, one is completely made of cane and bamboo, done by the local tribal population. Second is a mix between the suspension bridge, built by the army, and on the base is cane. Like this bridge connecting to one of the villages on the other end of the opposite of the Lohit River is a suspension bridge built by the army, and the base was done by the local people. Here is a closer view of the bridge. Now this is a lifeline for the people across various river network. Another wildlife sanctuary which you of interest is Maheho Wildlife Sanctuary, which is known for the marble cat and a variety of a goat antelope. You can call this as a goat antelope known as Mishmi Takin. Then we move on to Tezu Valley. It's from Tezu Valley that you could see one of the first sunrises in India. As I told you, there's another place, Kachal Island in Andaman Nicobar region, followed by Dong Village. This is Dong Village, friends, and this is a place where you can see India's first sunrise, which is at around 4:04 between 4:30 to 5:15, depending on the equinox. And nearby is another sacred spot known as Parasuram Kund, which is a protected monument. And also, this place is accessed by India's longest river bridge connecting Assam and Arunachal Pradesh over the Lohit River. This is known as the Dola Sadia or the Dr. Bhupin Hazarika Setu. And Parasuram Kund is known for its. Uh, this is also Parasuram Kund is sacred because of the spot. This is a spot when the Lohit River, Sangpo in Tibet, flowing down into Arunachal as Lohit, just before joining the plains and becoming Brahmaputra, it is over here that the river takes a sharp turn. And there is a sacred monument connected with one of the 10 avatars of Lord Vishnu, that is Parasuram Kund. Parasuram Kund is this spot, and it is this spot where the river makes a turn coming into the plains, and this is the sacred spot between this axe like formation and this place is severe current you could feel, and supposed to be a place which was damaged during the 1950s earthquake. They also have a Kumbh Mela, if I'm not wrong, once in 3 years or annual one, where a lot of sadhus gather over here. This particular portion between this particular rock formation and the bank has got some severe undercurrents. And here is one of the bridges, which is a complete bamboo and cane bridge. And nearby is a complete suspension bridge. And here is the plains where Lohit meets the plains in Brahmaputra in a region called as Pasighat. And near to this Parasuram Kund region, you could visit the third monument which is to be listed as UNESCO World Heritage Site, and the tentative list is the Namdappa National Park. Namdappa National Park is one of the India's evergreen rainforest is in this park, and this is the home to the black giant squirrel and the rare Namdappa flying squirrel, the sun bear, and also home to tigers. There are about 425 bird species and a unique Himalayan flower called as Sapria himalayana. It's a poisonous flower and also varieties of butterflies and the western hollock gibbon. Nearby, as you come down south, the last site we'll be visiting is Nitan Archaeological Site. The Nitan Archaeological Site, again, it some say it belongs to the Chutia dynasty, but the structures over here which have been found during the recent excavations have pointed out to structures which have been there even prior to the 14th century, that is from the 8th century onwards. The base is similar to the Orissa type of temple architecture, and the temple complex, which has been damaged due to earthquakes from the past, is visible. And there is a functioning temple, there is a Shiva temple, and along with that is a goddess temple. The name of the goddess is Kechai Keiti, more of a representation of goddess Durga. And interestingly, Malinathan is supposed to be the hometown of Rukmani Devi, the consort of Lord Krishna. It is from this region that she originates. So, this is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed your travel through Arunachal Pradesh. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, great, Mr. Hari. We could hear you a lot about the Arunachal. We never knew about this. But just my query
Please.
for the tourist, what is the time period? Which are the month they can visit very comfortably in Arunachal Pradesh, and what is the places, or they maybe 2 3 days itinerary they can visit very easily, because everybody cannot move around all the places of Arunachal because this is a vast terrain. So for touristic view, what are the best places they can see? Just you can name the few.
Yeah. Arunachal ideal will be you can, as I told you, access to Arunachal, Itanagar. The administrative capital is easier through train, and or you can catch your flight to Tezpur in Assam, and you can drive down either to directly to Tawang, that is Tambang Heritage Village, Sela Pass, and Tawang. That you could do it on a 3 day itinerary, but you need to be well prepared. And the Tawang region, the roads are closed literally due to the snowfalls in the winter. Ideal time for Tawang region visit will be during the summer months. And from Itanagar, another short visit you can make is to Zero, the Apathani Valley. The Apathani Valley, again, you have to take a drive from Itanagar. Both the monsoon time and the winter is beautiful in Zero. And during the winter months, sometime in December, January, there is also recently the Zero Music Festival, which is being held. So that is also an attraction for people visiting Zero in the winter. And please be prepared for severe cold. So you need to have enough woolens, especially say if you're doing Zero in the winter month. It is pleasant in the daytime, As the night sets, as the evening sets, say by even by about 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, the cold will start building up. So it's better that you have layers of winter clothing. And also, Arunachal is a place, since it's the land of the first state to receive the first sunrise. Morning starts by about 5:36. Evening sun is down by about 4:35. So please do utilize the daylight hours, which start very early in the morning. And people's lifestyle also revolves around it. Like for instance, that's the only place where you'll be having breakfast at 5:36 in the morning.
Okay,
I hope
that
Mr.
was very
Suman
informative.
answered your query.
Yeah. That was very informative. Actually, really, northeastern states, especially the Arunachal, that is very less visited by the people. And now the things have started moving, and like train connectivity has started just last year or so. So the things are
True.
moving forward, and we can certainly explore much about the Arunachal Pradesh. So you spoke well about all the cultures, the traditions, the flora and fauna of Arunachal Pradesh. It was really very informative. The red panda, you shown the red panda. It is only available in Arunachal Pradesh. And same thing I saw in China, because China, one area is famous for only red panda, and they have done it very well. And same way we should also promote it the
Yes.
same manner. In Tawang is the famous monastery, and in 2013 we had an international tourism mart there, and came into the limelight, and later the tourists started visiting Tawang. So Tawang is also very famous destination, and I think from Tezpur Tawang is nearer to Itanagar. Means not Itanagar it comes first. Tawang comes first, then Itanagar. It is like
No, sir. Tawang is one extreme, Itanagar is another extreme. Tawang is in the
okay. So
northeast corner
different
of
different ways we have to
Arunachal.
go from this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either you can go from
So
Itanagar or Tezpur.
yes, correct. So in 2013, I remember there was no connectivity of internet there, because the things were growing up that time itself. Now I think everything will be there, and all things might have improved. So the the area is very pristine. There's the natural mountains and the other things. Everybody is magnificent. Only we need to promote it. We need to provide the facilities there, so that more and more tourists can visit there. And you talked about the history of like Rukmini Devi. That is very much connected to Arunachal Pradesh, and that is how this connects with the Parasuram Kund and all. So this is very much connected to the Mahabharata, and that gives really connecting view that people how they would like to see the places and learn more about this. And certainly this longest bridge that has come up, that gives a very good connectivity to the Assam and other parts of the country. So certainly this was very informative, and you talked about all the aspects very nicely. And I think we had you in the last two episode also, and that all were very nice. And we hope that we will have you in few more episode later, and we will explore much of the unexplored areas of India. So thank you, Mr. Hari. Mr. Ashok, would you like to say something?
Yes, sir. Hari, this was an outstanding presentation.
Thank you.
Unknown destination, unexplored destination Northeast. You brought out the jewel of Northeast in 3 episodes. Assam, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh. Nobody could ask for anything better. Arunachal Pradesh, you started off with the history, geography, culture, people, the different tribes, the way they live, the settlements, the way they eat, and the dresses, flora, fauna. I mean, everything covered in 40, 45 minutes, abridged version of the jewel of Northeast. The moment you see that, one would like to immediately pack up as you rightly said, the extreme climatic conditions, along with it, take a sleeping bag and a rucksack and just go hiking straight away. You have
Yes.
tempted people to such an extent. I think this only an incredible India tourist guide can do. Nobody else can do. Any professional, any tour operator, they cannot even get closer to the way you have presented this destination, the wonder, unexplored wonder of Northeast, that is Arunachal. And it is so beautifully presented. You started off with the geography, then built up with the history, got into the people, the flora and fauna, the different religion, the different temples, gompas, and also the Buddhist monasteries, the tankas, and the way you have built it up, you have only made us get more curious. What is there? Let us get out and go there. Now, only one question I have in this:
Yes.
how is the infrastructure, accommodation part of it? Food, of course, we have to adapt ourselves to the local food with noodles, fried rice at the most. But otherwise, how is the accommodation available?
See, accommodation, Itanagar and Zero, they have few, very few hotels. But now in Zero area, you got quite a few homestays. The same with Tawang region. And I wish the government of Arunachal Pradesh, they are encouraging the local people to come up. But unfortunately, the tourism professionalism, or rather the footfalls of tourists in certain regions of Arunachal Pradesh is minimal. So people are not familiar. The local people are not familiar. If they have with good support from the Ministry of Tourism, the Arunachal State Tourism Department, and tourist professionals who can train them to be hosts and create rural tourist clusters, there can be more accommodations done. Mostly it is homestays and a couple of hotels. And please remember, a sleeping bag is very important. Whether you get a hotel also, sometimes the hotels are not of the standard which you see in the plains or even in Guwahati. So here the concept of hotel is something new to the people, because when they travel, they will travel to they will stay in their relatives' home, or they don't go much out of their cultural geography. So that is one challenge. And when you're going for trekking, please do carry lots of tobacco. Why tobacco? Because of the leeches. What they do is they soak tobacco in water, and they'll take that soaked tobacco, squeeze it, and apply it in the body, because it saves you from leeches when you make treks into the forest. It's not just in the wet months, which is July to September time, but also during the winter time. And slowly, small hotels are coming up. And infrastructure wise, the nearest railway station which you can connect to Arunachal is Itanagar railway station, which is rather new, and it is well connected by roads. But during monsoon, there might be chances of landslides in the northernmost corner of the state, and even in the Sela Pass region on the way to Tawang. So those are the places, according to the climate, it happens. I hope I have answered your question. I think Mr. Ashoka's line got cut. Yes, sir.
Certainly, we will do much more to promote the Arunachal Pradesh, and certainly the state government of Arunachal Pradesh is doing better to promote the connectivity and infrastructure and facility. Even we are hosting the International Tourism Mart every year, and this year we are hosting in Mizoram. And same way, certainly it may come, the next may come to Arunachal and others. So we are taking this in cognizance, and always we are promoting these northeastern states. So you might be aware that the government is giving the airlift through Indian Air Force planes from Itanagar to Delhi and to other places to for the civilians also. That is the practice going there, and there
Okay.
are advanced landing grounds like Machuca and all that have become tourist place now, and they were actually not accessible earlier, but now they are all connected and the road by, you can say, the border road organization and all. So certainly the things are improving. Of course, the difficult terrain, so it takes time to get the things, but the things are much better than you can say ago. The things have improved very fast. So I think it was a marvelous session, and we had a lot of knowledge and information about this northeastern states. So thank you, Mr. Hari, and thank you, Mr. Ashok, and all the participants. I could see a lot of participants increasing now, and the NEGT team and the technical team and all. So I am very much thankful to all, and certainly we will continue this, and we will have much more good things to discover. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.